Hello everyone, I'm Chris Erkley and welcome to the PE Crime Blotter, a weekly look at crime here in Riverside and San Bernardino counties. We begin with crime headlines. Rialto police officers shot and wounded a Rialto man last Wednesday night after he pointed a replica handgun at them, according to police. 22-year-old Houston LaRon Parker, who lives in an unincorporated area of Rialto, was shot 3 to 4 times in the upper torso. He was listed in critical but stable condition after the shooting. 4 Rialto police officers responded at 9:10 p.m. to a 911 call reporting a man shooting at a car in the 100 block of East Jackson Street. Police say investigators believe that Parker himself made the call on the cell phone. Police believe the suspect may have staged the confrontation. The shooting was captured on this cell phone video by neighbors. Staying in Rialto, last week inland law enforcement agencies served copies of a permanent gang injunction to 19 suspected members of the Rialto-based Hustla Squad clique gang. About 50 law enforcement officials went to a dozen residents throughout San Bernardino and Riverside counties, including San Bernardino, Victorville, and Moreno Valley, to find people, photograph them, and serve the injunction. Prosecutors say the gang has been active in Rialto since 2005. Members have been accused of robberies, grand theft, drug dealing, burglary, and murder. Moving on to San Bernardino, 2 weeks after an apparent gang-related double slaying outside a San Bernardino apartment building, murder charges have been filed against both suspects and police are still looking for one of them. The February 1st bloodshed along the 1400 block of North Sepulveda Avenue has prompted prosecutors to file 2 counts of murder and 1 count of attempted murder against 22-year-old Jeremy James Figueroa and 25-year-old Emilio Roberto Guerrero. According to police, Figueroa and one of the victims were in different gangs, which leads detectives to believe that a gang rivalry prompted the argument that led to the gunfire. Figueroa is under arrest, while detectives are still searching for Guerrero. Moving on to the southwest, the Riverside County DA's office has announced a 59-year-old Menifee man accused of killing his neighbor's Chihuahua last month with a blow from a golf club will be charged with felony animal cruelty. The formal charges have been yet to file against Larry Edward Hariki, who had been out on jail bond since January 26th in what sheriff's officials described as an unprovoked attack on the 6-pound Chihuahua. Hariki has not yet responded to requests for comment. Riverside County law enforcement officials arrested 28 people and seized $14,000 Sunday at a Jurupa Valley house suspected of holding illegal cockfights. A search warrant served in the 4000 block of Kenneth Street led to the raid. 47-year-old Martin Ruizga and his son, 25-year-old Miguel Angel Ruizga, were arrested on suspicion of animal cruelty and illegal gambling. The others were arrested on suspicion of being spectators of the cockfights. Well, that does it for crime headlines. When we come back, we'll have On the Docket.
We cover the issues you care about. Here at the Press Enterprise and PE.com, local news matters whether you live along Route 66 or on Main Street. We provide regional analysis and in-depth investigation of issues like education, transportation, the environment, and much more. Important matters are covered here. That is how we keep you connected to your community. The Press Enterprise and PE.com. For home delivery, call 1-800-794-NEWS.
Welcome back to the PE Crime Blotter. It is now time for our On the Docket segment, where we take a look at the big court cases this week. Joining me now is Rich Diatley from the Press Enterprise. Rich, our first one involves Brandon Barnes and a violent murder of a 3-year-old San Bernardino girl.
Right. He faces 1 count of murder, 7 counts of attempted murder. This was a shooting during a family gathering back in September. He'll be in court on Friday to see where his case goes next. He's pleaded not guilty to all charges.
And then in Riverside, former Riverside PD officer Anthony Wayne Fletcher.
He was convicted of child molestation charges. The appellate court reversed that. The DA says they will refile the charges and have actually, and he'll be in court tomorrow to see where his case goes next.
Then lastly, one that had a development today, Marlo McGee from Moreno Valley, a 2007 murder of her 1-month-old.
Trial is now set for February 21st for her. She had a previous conviction of a shaking assault on a child who had to be hospitalized for brain damage.
All right, thanks, Rich. We will be sure to keep everyone updated on any type of developments in any of these cases. And that does it for this week's On the Docket. All right, it is now time for our in-depth segment. The topic is Bill Postmus, the former San Bernardino County Assessor. Joining me now is Emron Gorhi from the Press Enterprise. He's been following the Colonies case very closely. And Emron, with Postmus, the kind of topic of debate here is the difference between testimony that he gave for the grand jury back in April and then an interview that he did here in Riverside with the FBI back in October.
Correct, yes. This is the latest development in the Colonies corruption bribery investigation. And the issue here is that in this interview with the FBI, Bill Postmus says that the $100,000 in contributions that were donated to a PAC that he allegedly controlled were not bribes. And that follows his plea deal back in March, where he basically pled guilty to accepting a bribe. So now we have an issue where defense attorneys might raise questions about his credibility.
And then overall, what could this do? Obviously, with his credibility, the drug issue also comes into play. Combining these two things, what could that do to affect the case going forward?
Well, Bill Postmus is a key witness for the prosecution. So defense attorneys are going to raise questions about the inconsistencies in his grand jury testimony and his interview with the FBI. And the other issue is that he admits in this FBI interview that during this period in 2006, 2007, when these alleged crimes took place, that his methamphetamine use was daily. So already some of the defense attorneys have raised questions about methamphetamine addicts, that their memory is not reliable. So how much of his testimony is credible here?
All right, Emron, we'll make sure to get the latest updates on that case. That does it for this edition of In Depth. It's now time for the Inland's Most Wanted. Hello everyone, welcome back to the PE Crime Blotter. It is now time for the Inland's Most Wanted, the most wanted criminals in both Riverside and San Bernardino County. Joining me now is John Asbury from the Press Enterprise. John, your first guy from Riverside is Juan Solis.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, Solis was wanted for a crime in February 2010 where he was walking down the street one morning and came up to a black man and errantly shot him. He's charged with attempted murder and a hate crime, and he's believed to be a member of the East Side Riva criminal street gang, which was targeted by the district attorney's office in a gang injunction in 2007.
And then moving over to Paris, we have Pablo Reyes.
Yep, Pablo Reyes is wanted for sexual abuse and child molestation. A teenage girl came forward and said that he had been molesting her since she was 6 years old, including at one point holding a pillow over her face.
Then at Winchester, Abraham Sotomayor.
In the Sotomayor case, a child called 911 to report that his mother had been stabbed several times and was laying bleeding on the floor. By the time authorities got there, the suspect had fled, but they believed that the suspect was her live-in boyfriend.
And then in the Southwest out in Temecula, we have Edgar Adrian Joaquin.
Yeah, Joaquin is charged with attempted murder, even though a bullet never actually struck anyone. He was part of an Old Town Temecula gang in the Temecula Gardens apartment in 2007, where he fired and a bullet nearly missed a woman and her child inside.
And if anyone has any type of information on any of these suspects, where can they go?
Authorities are asking people to call 855-21-CATCH.
All right, John, thanks for joining us. That does it for this week's Inland's Most Wanted.
We cover the issues you care about. Here at the Press Enterprise and PE.com, local news matters whether you live along Route 66 or on Main Street. We provide regional analysis and in-depth investigation of issues like education, transportation, the environment, and much more. Important matters are covered here. That is how we keep you connected to your community. The Press Enterprise and PE.com. For home delivery, call 1-800-794-NEWS.
It is time for the Dumb Crooks segment. Joining me now is the Press Enterprise's Brian Rokos. Brian, a bit of a light-hearted story here in the Dumb Crooks. It involves Thunder, the Lake Elsinore's mascot, had his ATV stolen last week. There was a wide search far and wide for the ATV, and give us a breakdown of just how things happened.
Well, someone on February 7th overnight broke into the Diamond Stadium in Lake Elsinore and broke into a storage area back of left field and took out the ignition of this neon green quad that Thunder rides all around the park and stole the quad. And so there was an all points bulletin put out for this ATV. And now I thought maybe like the Inland Empire 66ers mascot Bernie might have taken it, but looking like that's not the case.
That was a pure conspiracy theory, but Thunder set out a Facebook page, right? There was bulletins galore, and it kind of an interesting twist with how it was finally found.
Thunder has his own Facebook page, and he wrote an open letter to the thief. In fact, it started out, "Dear Thief," and basically said, "Please bring my quad back." Fans count on him riding it into the stadium before the game, and everyone cheers and stuff like that. So everyone's looking for this green quad, but an eagle-eyed sheriff's sergeant spotted what had been painted black. The quad had been painted black in the Lakeland village area of Lake Elsinore, and chased the quad into the hills, and they got away temporarily. And then the sheriff sent up the helicopter, and the helicopter was able to find this quad in the hills at night, even though it was painted black. So kudos to the sheriff's department for really being eagle-eyed. And Thunder put out on his Facebook page, thanks to the sheriff's department, and so he'll have it back when the Padres and the Royals play an exhibition at the stadium on April 4th. Now, I can't say that the Crooks were too smart, because they kept it and they drove it around Lake Elsinore.
They did change the color.
They changed the color, but here's this giant quad, and they're driving it all around Lake Elsinore, and it was bound to be spotted. And the Crooks so far are fortunate that they haven't been caught.
They haven't been caught, but some ace detective work in spotting that ATV. Thunder definitely breathing a sigh of relief. Brian, thanks for joining us. I'm glad at least that case has been partially cracked. That does it for our Dumb Crooks segment this week, and also wraps up the PE Crime Blotter. We'll see you next week.